Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ed Parcaut of Helping the Brave, and let's bring in our guest today. Hello, Carl, Abel. How you doing?
Hey, Ed, how are you?
Seems like we've done this before, but anyway, what question I ask all the time: what service and why?
So the Marine Corps, and because I walked out of the Navy recruiting office around the corner and ran into a Marine holding up the wall with a cigarette in his mouth, and I thought that's a cool guy, and I want to join this. So 20 years later, here I am.
So, what did you join when you joined? Were you joined as infantry, or what did you join when you were joining?
So my recruiter wouldn't let me go infantry. He wanted me to go the intel route because of my ASVAB score. And I know there's a lot of people that talk about that. I don't even like to use that as like, oh, my ASVAB score is high, but that's really, truly, honestly what happened. He would not let me take an infantry contract to save my life. So spent 20 years as an intelligence analyst in the Marine Corps.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, my AVAS, I can't even talk today. My score was high too. That was why I could go to physical therapy school when I was in the Navy. And because of that, and I always tell people the only reason I went to that is because that's not on a ship. So, because after 18 months being in, so back in the day when I was in, you went as a general hospital corpsman, and then you went to a specialty school unless you had that signed up from the beginning. And when after 18 months, they're like, okay, you're either going to a ship or a specialty school. And I'm like, what specialty school is not on a ship? And they went, physical therapy. I'm like, sounds exactly what I want to do. Did that, and came back. I was at Camp Pendleton and came back to Camp Pendleton. So,
Hey, Camp Pendleton's not a bad area.
It's a great place. But when I was in, and I forgot about this, but because we go through Balboa, and there were signs on the yards that said, keep your sailors and your dogs off our lawn. Yeah. So what are you going to do? That's the love-hate relationship between people, civilians, and the military that are around there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even out here, less so out here in the Lejeune area, because it's.
So you're in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm in Eastern North Carolina.
I know we already said that, but people who are listening to us now do not know that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, even out here, there's still a small group of people that are anti-military, but they live in the military town. But for the most part, everyone is all about the troops out here, which is nice, especially given the fact that you've got the boots that walk up and down Western Boulevard all the time wearing the backpacks and standing out like sore thumbs.
Yeah, my son's in the Army, and he was like going through the airport because he had to travel in his uniform. He's like, Dad, it's nice up front with first view, but when you get to 100, all the people say, thank you for service. I go, it could be worse. You be coming back from Vietnam and people spitting on you. So take that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I mean, you and I, we both understand, and your son understands that it's awkward when you get thanked for your service and you don't know how to reply, because you don't want to say you're welcome, like they owe you thanks, but at the same time you don't want to shirk it off like it was nothing, because it's huge to have their support. So it's one of those awkward moments where we as service members don't really know how to respond sometimes.
Yeah, we don't know how to take a compliment.
That's true.
We're so used to being, well, older ones of us so used to being beat down while we were in. It's different when I went with my son's boot camp and all that stuff, and I integrated male, female, I just couldn't, that's just weird. Because when I was in it, I was at NTC, RTC, and it was just all guys. Same, at when it was at Great Lakes, but totally different to have both at the same time. So,
yeah, I left recruiting duty and I came back to the real Marine Corps, as I like to call it. Wound up with 3-6, and which is an infantry unit. And when I got there, I was stunned because there were women and men like training together, doing fire team rushes and everything. And I'm like, this isn't something that I'm used to or is normal to me, because when I had left, infantry was still an all male unit. So it was definitely a learning curve for me at that time.
Right. So you were in for 20 years. Is that what you said?
Yep.
All right. Mm-hmm. So during that period of time, where did you go over? I assume you went to the sand a couple of times, maybe, or got close to it.
Oh yeah, I was in Iraq 3 times. And after my third time, I came home and said, "Hey, I want to learn how to speak the language that is spoken in Afghanistan." And I spent time in Monterey learning how to speak Dari, and never went to Afghanistan, which is weird Marine Corps isms for where they needed me. But yeah, I learned how to speak the language, but I never got to use it. But beyond combat, I've been, I mean, Dubai, Europe, Norway. I even spent a couple of years out in Japan. So traveled a lot and got to experience the world for what it is.
So now that can you still understand that language? It's been too long.
I'm dangerous enough that I can, when I hear people talking, I can pick up on it, but I'm not good enough to respond back.
Gotcha. No, so some people learn, do what you do, and then later on use it when they get out as, I don't want to say black ops, but you know what I mean? They use it for other companies and stuff like that. And they go there to work. Cause my cousin was constantly gone, and he was in the Navy, and he was once he got out, he was a contractor, and he went everywhere. So.
Yeah, I used it during Operation Allied Welcome, which is when we brought the refugees in. And I was able to interact with the kids. But even with them, the slang that they have, it threw me off because I had that collegiate level education from the military, because that's how they teach us. So it was fun getting to know the new slang words that were coming out, and kind of sidling in with that new generation a little bit. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm dangerous enough to understand what's being said, but not good enough to actually have the full interaction.
Did you learn any other languages? Because they say once you learn one, it's easier to learn others, but I don't know.
Yeah, so Dari is like a dialect, like the backwoods Hick dialect of Farsi. So I was able to easily pick that up pretty quickly. And then because I went recruiting in California, and I'm from California, I was able to pick up Spanish as well. I mean, I had a little bit of Spanglish before I joined, but after learning Dari and learning how to understand the language, I was able to pick it up pretty quickly when it comes to Spanish. I mean, I've also found that I can sit in a room and listen and slowly start to pick up different conversations from different languages, as long as they're consistent and I can hear them clearly. It helps.
Right. So how did I'm sorry, I'm on a totally different thought pattern right now. So, because I know everything in the military is like when I went to physical therapy through school, it was 3 months. But I mean, typically it's 2 years if you're on the outside. How is the military with teaching the language? Kind of the same way? They just force it? Is it just an easier way? I mean, how do you learn so fast in Monterey?
The instructors don't think that you're human and need to sleep, which is how you learn so fast. And I mean that with all honesty. And anyone who, if your listeners are currently in Monterey learning a language, they understand where I'm coming from, which is you'll spend 12 to 16 hours in class and then leave class with another 8 hours of homework. And that is on a daily basis. And then they double that for the weekends, because they want to make sure that it's a consistent training regimen, and it's scientific based. I mean, it's not one of those, they just beat you over the head until you figure it out. It's more of a tried and true method of learning the language. So you go through your class, and then the expectation is when you get home, you're going to spend 1, maybe 2 hours kind of relaxing and breathing or going to the gym. And then afterwards, you're going to pick it back up again. And the idea is that it's that second iteration that cements the knowledge in your head. And then the very next day, you go back over it, which is a third iteration. And so it's a building block approach. And depending on the language, you have anywhere between 6 months to a year to reach 12th grade level proficiency.
Wow. Now, and you probably have to speak it all the time while you're there, right? When you're
in class. Yeah.
Yeah. But not out of class, because I know that a lot of people who go, the best way to learn a language is go to that country and live there for a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why in class you did it, but outside of class, because of the nature of the Defense Language Institute and how there's multiple languages being taught, In order to do Marine Corps stuff or Navy stuff or like basic military functions, you couldn't use your language because the Marine or the sailor that you're interacting with probably isn't learning the same language. So you've got to speak English in order to get that across. So
I just didn't know if they kept you in the same group, the same dorm, the same everything, where you guys were living.
Unfortunately, no. They just did the intermingling. So
gotcha. Darn them. All right. So, because it sounds to me like, why aren't you doing something with language? Because I know we're going to get into what you want to do in politics. And you're in North Carolina. If you were in California, I could see how you would definitely use Spanish to get to 45% of the population. Where did you live in California before you joined?
I grew up in the Roseville, Marysville area, so just north of Sacramento.
I'm in Modesto.
Oh, okay. So you kind of know where I'm talking about.
As you said Roseville, I knew exactly where you're talking about. Yeah. People don't know where. Yeah, I'm in California, but I was in Southern California for over 20 years because I joined the Navy. Then when I got out, stayed down there and then moved up here. And then I've been up here for almost 18, 20 years, something like that. I don't keep track anymore. I'm getting too old to keep track. But I just, Northern California, I like it, but I love Southern California. I just hate the amount of people there, and how it's just crazy all the time. If you want to drive anywhere, you have to figure out your day by the do I want to really go there? Because it's 3:00 in the afternoon, that kind of stuff. Where I live now, I don't have that same problem. Unless I go to the area, where.
Yeah, Modesto is amazing. So, it used to be like one of those podunk towns, but
cow towns. It's not a cow. Yeah. We actually put on a fire walk for veterans the last 2 years here, where we actually do a real fire walk. The guy that helps me run it, that part of it, the fire walk, he worked for Tony Robbins for 20 years and doing his fire walks. And so he comes out and helps us put together. We're still going to do it every year, but we've moved it from May to the weekend after Veterans Day.
So, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's coming up in November. So we got plenty of time. I got to get on. It's January, but still, it's going to be here before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
We did 2 years, right? Yeah, we did 2 years, so the past 2 years, and it's at the point where I'm like, okay, I need to get some. I have a lot of help. It's a lot of work, but we're cutting it down only to do 2 hours now versus the 4 hours we did before. We just want, and now the reason we moved it from May, which was sunny, because we have to wait till 8:30 for it dark so they can see the color of the coals. Now, since we're moving it to November, it's dark by 5. There isn't that waiting around for the coals.
And it's probably cooler too.
But May is not that hot. The problem is May and November is going to have the same issue. Occasional rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference. May showers bring or April showers bring May flowers or something like that. I don't remember. All right. So you did 20 years and then you finally said enough is enough. Or was there a reason that you decided to get out?
Honestly, I had only intended to do 4. I wanted to do 4, get the education benefits, go to college and jump into politics. I have been a political animal since I can remember. And so that was my initial plan. But I got in, I did my 4 years and I enjoyed it so much that I just reenlisted. And that reenlistment turned into another and another and another. And by the time I hit 20, I'd finally realized that I put my goal and my dream off for long enough. And that the 20-year mark was my go ahead and exit date. So I exited the military and now I'm in the process of re-gearing and retooling to get into the political arena.
Now, did you go to school already or are you going to do that now?
So I tried while I was in and I did the stupid boot thing of putting my career ahead of my education. And so to answer your question, the short answer is I am currently doing that right now and just kind of getting that.
I know you're that was not a short answer. That was a long answer to get.
I'm sorry.
The short answer is yes, I'm doing my stuff right now.
So I retired as a gunny. I like to talk.
Yeah. No, not just saying, because it doesn't matter when you go to school. Now you got your GI Bill, you got amazing school. And then when you got out, did you get all of your disability benefits? I mean, a lot of people don't like to talk about it. I talk about it because it took me 20 years to get my disability. I'm currently at 90, working on my 100. For some people, it's easy to get it as you're coming out, if you have enough stuff in your medical record, but for other people, it's not. And I think everybody deserves to make sure they get their benefits because it's due to you. A lot of us think it's not, and we're worried about it. I talked to a guy today. I created a veterans benefit company recently because of what I went through to get my benefits. The Ranger was amazing that I interviewed on here, and he got me through, but there was so much more he could have done or said. And when I explained it to them, they didn't want to hear me. So I said, enough is enough. I'm out of the Bay Area. I can get this thing done right.
Right. Yeah. So I don't like to talk about it, but they did give me 100% P&T rating.
Okay.
So.
Well, you should. The reason I don't know why you don't want, and please don't take this wrong. You don't have to talk about it, but 100% P&T just helps you with buying houses, getting more benefits for your education. If you're married, for your family, your kids, everything for your kids to go to college, all that stuff. It's a huge thing to help people. Plus the benefits you get with your family, being able to have medical coverage while you're out.
Yeah.
You don't have to say what it's for. I just, so.
The reason I don't like to talk about it is because of, I don't want to come off as like boastful about the fact that, oh, well, I've got 100% and I've got all these benefits and
well, I think everybody should be at 100% who has those issues, because a lot of us, it's just, you add them up and they get there. A lot of us were told, do not apply. When we got out, do not do this, do not that. You don't need it. Well, I'm telling you, it helps a lot of people change the trajectory of their life by having that extra cushion or that benefit that's due to them. It's different now than it was when I got out. And it's so much easier to get the benefits now and show why you need them versus where it was before. So,
right. You're not wrong.
You don't have to agree with me. I don't care.
No. And I'm not agreeing to agree with you or do like the brown noser thing. You're not wrong in what you're saying. And I mean, there are people that I know that I'm close to that I work with and help them. I'm like, hey, this is what I did wrong, or this is what I did right. These are the things that I had to have. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. Like, I'll talk to them about it. But in a public sphere, what I don't want to do is come off as boastful, like, oh, I got my 100%, yay, I'm getting the golden ticket type situation. So that's just, for me, that's why I don't point to that. But the benefits are great. I mean, my spouse has got college now. I mean, it's the very fact that I have the 100% P&T is what is allowing me the cushion to be able to take that step back and say, okay, now I can actually take time off and focus on how I want to run when I run in 2 years.
So you know what the sad part is? It's probably more than your retirement.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't mean that wrong, but I'm just, because my son, he's in the Army, and I was telling him, I said, here's what we've learned. To put everything in your medical record. Yes, I know you're not supposed to. Well, go get seen by the outside, but have it there. Keep track. And I tell everybody, keep a log. When something happens, I was with Sergeant so-and-so or whatever around you. So then if somebody needs that information, or if you need a buddy letter, you know who to reach out to at that point to help you. Because if it's not, just because it's not in your medical record didn't mean it didn't happen. And if you get denied because they said it's not connected to service, well, then look at the other things that were approved and see if it's a secondary condition to those. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. And I'm 90% almost finished with my app, to where if you wanted to submit your stuff, you have help to do it, where you don't need to pay somebody $5,000 or whatever, or use a VSO who will take longer to do it. You can do it all yourself. And that's the plan. I want every vet to be able to get the benefits they deserve. You having 100% just means that somebody else should be able to get 100%. And that's not knocking why you have it. I'm just saying everybody should say how they have it and how they got it to help other people get there.
I've never thought about it from that point of view.
I think differently than you do, as you can tell. I'm not a Marine. I'm just kidding.
I think simply.
No, it's just people are worried about, but I have 100%. You. That's not what it is. It's about telling you if I can get it, you should be able to get it. I'm at 92. I have some knees issues, shoulder issues. I don't even have my PTSD thing in there. And what happened was when I submitted, my guy didn't tell me to keep adding my stuff as I was, because I got diagnosed with it and I saw everybody, but it didn't get added to my case because, or the part where they needed to see to say, hey, he has a diagnosis for it. And people understand if you don't have the diagnosis, but it doesn't matter if it's connected to your military, you have, and they have to be seen for it recently. You have to have that diagnosis. And that's what people don't understand. It's a whole totally different industry. I just don't like the people who do 5 times the increases and the other stuff and take that amount of money that, you know, the attorneys charge 30%, which you really don't need the attorneys for. You might need them for an appeal, but you don't need them for any other reason.
Yeah, I didn't.
So
I had a VSO do it for me, and that's the right answer. There's a whole bunch of folks out there that talk to like Veterans Info Tap on YouTube, and they talk a whole game about all their stuff. But what I found is just going through my VSO, even though that process was frustrating, right? Like talking to him and trying to use him as a middleman between me and the VA. It reached a point where I finally cut the middleman out and kind of handled the communication myself. But it was easy because I had my VSO who helped walk me through the initial phases. And that it made a lot of sense. And I didn't have to pay anything because that's what the VSO is there for. And the fact that you're working on the app is, I mean, that's going to be a huge benefit as well. But I still think, personally, I think that the VSO is probably the most critical part of the initial phase just to get it filed. Because they'll tell you if you get a good VSO, they will tell you if you're missing.
That's the thing. They're 10% of them are good. That's the problem. They're not all good. And that's the issue. So if you can bypass them, because when I got out, I went through, you know, you doing your 1 week out and you sit with the DAV, just they don't want American, they put in certain things, but they don't really help. I mean, they help to a certain point, but not the way, because I've been through both sides and now I understand the whole process and how it should be. So I'm trying to make it to where most people get out, especially after 20 years, everything's in. If they were told, right, get in your medical record before you get out. And then as you're getting out, you do the stuff, here's your 100% or 50 or whatever the number is. It's a little different. But if it's 20 years ago, 30 years ago, those type of things, it's a lot harder. And I've found that even with my app, they're still going to need help because some people, I ran into a 70-year-old guy who's a Vietnam vet who he thought he was at 100%, but it's because of his surgery. So and I'm like, you're not P&T, dude. It doesn't say P&T right there. It says this is going to be gone in March of 26 because it's a surgery. You're 100% right now, but it's going away. But my doctor said, yeah, he's talking about when he does your other knee. You're going to be able to keep it for another 6 months. It's not P&T. You can't go get the taxes taken off your house. You can't do all this other stuff. Get rid of a student. Oh, by the way, if you do get student loans, you can get rid of them even after the fact. So just so you know, because if you have student loans now and you get 100% and they're federally, they go away. And then I know people who went back to school for masters and other stuff, and then they ended up getting them away again. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I was patting myself on the back because I didn't have any student loans. But.
Not yet, anyway. Yeah, you have enough. That's the thing about you have the benefits plus you have your GI Bill. So because of the 100%, and that's what's important. And everybody should go and get as much as they possibly can. But I think they're just so. And I don't mean to stay on the benefit things, but I just think it's important. People forget. And you going into politics, I think it's very important. I think more veterans should be in politics because they won't send people to war as fast as the other people who don't have any kids who went to war. Or that's just a totally different look at it. And it's because of us veterans that you're able to give away all this money for taxes that we pay for. But just because that's done doesn't mean we need to take care of our vets first. And that's what needs to come back.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm all over the place with today, but all right. So it's going to be a while. So are you running for local office yet? Because usually got to start local, then increase, and then go up from there.
Well, it depends, right? So you don't have to do it that way. That is a recommended process, just because it allows you to get your name out there and name recognition, especially if you're running for a seat like I am at the U.S. Congress level, specifically the House of Representatives. So that helps, but you don't have to do it that way. The track that I'm taking is to develop Crambox Politics as an authoritative source for government data, so a one-stop shop, and utilize the podcast to get my opinions and thoughts and points of view out, so that when the time does come, I have that to lean on. So that's one of the prongs that I'm using. The other prong is I'm getting heavily involved with the community here, that where I live, talking with members of the party that I am aligned to, and working with them to identify where I can volunteer, what hours I can do, getting to know the people. Because in the political world, just like in a lot of different sectors, it's not about what you know, it's more about who you know.
And so that's everything in life. It's not what you know.
Right. I'm just what I'm trying to do is develop that who you know process. So local office, I'm not as inclined, just because of my feeling that I'm 40 years old and I don't have any time to waste, which could be just me being a dum-dum. But
see, that's more hurtful than the other thing.
Why do you say that?
I just met No, but I mean, the question, so here's you want, so this is what I wanted to do this year, and I didn't get a chance because everything else going on. So I don't know if you know this, but every November, right, they sign a thing to make it Veterans Month, right? Every president has to sign something to make it. We need to make it permanently Veterans Month. And we need to put a bill together. We need to have it signed and get it through. And that could put your name on the map that's something you did. So I don't know if you're up for that. Let me know, because that's something I want to do this next year. Get that going so that veterans have the full month of November, instead of having the presidents to sign a POC, whatever they call that. Can't think of the word I was looking for.
See, now you got
declaration.
The presidential declaration.
Yeah, and it started with Obama, which is, I don't care how it started, but you don't make it permanent. Everybody else has a month except for veterans. We have one day, and first of all, we should be remembered 365 days out of the year, not just one day out of the year.
I'm down. Yeah, let's talk about how we can make that happen.
It's just easy. ChatGPT told me everything I needed to do.
Gotta love AI.
No, I mean, dude, I've written for August of last year. I went to an event called Growth Hacking Live, and I learned how to vibe code, I had no idea what that was. It's basically coding with using AI, and I've created multiple apps and everything else, and websites and everything, just by using the app. And it's so easy. It does it all for you. And so I'm just saying, when I asked Chat, I said, this is what I want to do. And it told me, and then I was going to make a whole video mantra up to that, of what we're trying to do and how it get all the people behind us. Cause we have to get a petition signed and have so many signatures in order to get them to do it. And I have the whole plan. It's just needing somebody to help me with it, because it's not just something I can take on.
I volunteer as tribute.
All right. I'm going to give it to you. You can handle everything.
Well, don't give it to me. I'm going to work with you on it.
Yeah, we're in January. It's going to be here before you know it. And
yeah.
It's a matter of, because right now would be the perfect time to get it done with Trump in office. He would be the first one to make it that way and go, why the heck haven't we done this before? So
he'd still,
what?
He'd find a way to make it about him.
I don't care. I really, so here's the thing. I don't care. I don't care if people take it over and it's about, because I deal with that stuff all day long. It's, it's always about, like, I was reading someone's book, and they were talking, the whole thing's about them. And when I wrote my book, I have stories in there but it's not about me. There's a couple of stories about me, but most of the stories is about how I helped somebody and how they went through and how they forgot. It wasn't kept bringing it back to me and my service every chapter and everything else. I'm just saying I don't care if he's like, this is big. I'm like, that's the greatest month I've ever. I don't really care as long as it's done for his veterans. I just don't care.
I'm with you. And I agree. He would be the one that would sign it without hesitation.
And he could say it's his idea as long as he gives us credit.
You can be at the signing ceremony. How about that?
And we both can. I just think it'd be a neat idea because no one's thought about it. No one's pushed it. And we need to have it happen. And then that would just make it that way forever. And then there'd be nothing that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about the entire month of free meals. That'd be great.
It'd be the day. It's still Veterans Day.
Oh yeah, I'm joking.
I understand. But Veterans Day is one thing. That is the day, but now make it a month, not just not 11/11, but the whole month is because they already do it. Just make it permanent. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no proclamation needed, just automatically there. And then everybody knew that's what it is. And then every president didn't have to do it there going forward. It'd automatically be there.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yeah.
It's just a start because then, and the question is when you go run for, governor, when you run for your Congress or whatever you're going for, when do you plan on running for the next seat?
I'm going to run in 28. So that's the plan. I was approached to run this year, but I didn't change my party registration. I changed it a little too late in the game, so I wasn't able to run for office this year, unfortunately.
What did you change to?
I went from Republican to Democrat.
All right, we got to go. This is...
But so that's why I waited for so long, right? Is because of the concern about whether or not that would have a negative impact on people's view of me, right? And I know I'm Marine, I shouldn't give two cares about.
Well, the whole thing is why, and this is a political thing that you are you're Crayon bot, everything about politics. The question is, all right, so for me, I'm not really a Republican, Democrat, or I run as a Republican. I have that just because if I don't, I can't vote on any ballot in California because I don't have it on there. If I have Democrat, they won't even show me the Republicans, or if I have independent, they don't even send it to me, which I think that's just how California is. It's really messed up. Anyway. But for me, I think this is part in time. The Republican Party is one of the largest parties that invites everybody into it now. And I don't think the Democratic Party is the party that it used to be of the 60s. I feel that's the Republican Party these days. And that's why I don't understand why somebody would go the other way, because of it's, you can talk, I watch Fox, I watch every station, but really Fox News. I watch the guy on the 5, what's his name? That sits in for Jessica all the time.
I don't know. I don't watch Fox.
Why not? You need to watch every station to understand everything.
So to be honest with you, I don't watch American media at all. And that's largely due to my experience as an intelligence analyst, and the knowledge that American media is heavily biased depending on what the station is. And so I reach out and I look at global media, because the global media is where I'm going to get an actual solid understanding of the bigger picture and what's going on. And I'll look at local media specifically to where I'm at, because local media will give me insight into what's going on around me. But when it comes to national level media like CNN or Fox News, I don't turn them on at all.
Yeah, because for me, I look at them all just to see where they're at. I want people to give me the news and let me figure out what I want to do with it. Not, don't give me your opinion. You're supposed to give me the news and let me make my own decision. And that hasn't been that way for 20 years or more. So when I did the Camino de Santiago and I was watching other nations' news that I could understand, they would just give the facts and say, okay, goodbye. And then, and that's what I want. But I understand in today's, there's so many people grained into certain things. And my problem is I would love that all the political parties would go away and you would just pick a candidate, because we're too much into our own silos. And, I look at America, like, England and all that. They're so far left that our left looks right.
Yeah. Yes. But at the same time, right. And back to your question, your original question, why would someone like me go from a Republican to Democrat? Right. And the answer to that question is, for me, I've seen the Republican Party growing less and less open-minded, and less welcoming of those who have dissenting opinions. Specifically in my neck of the woods in North Carolina, I mean, I was a member of several conservative groups, and those groups slowly shifted in mindset from we are conservative because of X, Y, and Z to MAGA. And I'm not a personality driven individual. So when it comes to understanding that dynamic, the way that I viewed it is, we have a party that has shifted to being about a singular individual. And then we have a party who is actively trying to fight against the authoritarian actions of that singular individual. I mean, both parties are bad. Don't get me wrong, right? Like we could do both sides of some.
Yeah, right. The whole Biden thing and the whole there's so many problems. That's why when you're in the service, you're not supposed to say anything about the president. You're just supposed to do your job, which they never do until recently. But I understand where you're coming from. But so I'm in California. It's all Democrats. I don't care what you say. I see how far and how horrible it can go by being a Democrat. And I wanted to go back to a multiple party situation, but because of Schwarzenegger, when he was rushing a bill in, he was trying to keep Republicans in power, and it said the top two people, not the top two parties, are the only thing that needs to be on the ballot. So now they have the systems made to where you only have two Democrats on, and so you can never get the Republican on. And so now you don't have that choice. So for me, in a state that's so Democrat that I could not see why somebody would want to be a Democrat. And I tell people that are veterans, go in as a Democrat, but then change parties to Republican once you get in. That's the only way we can change things.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at the recent legislation that's getting passed by the predominant Republican Party, Republican House of Representatives and the predominant Republican Senate, a lot of the bills that are coming through there, the legislation is crimping on or cutting back on VA benefits for veterans. So, I mean, and those are Republican-led bills, right? So I look at it from those perspectives as well. Like, look, honestly, neither party has the interests of the American people in its sights. They have the intent to grab power and maintain power and keep power. That's it. Like, they don't care about anything else. As long as they're in power, everything else is negligible. And I mean, the majority of our party system, both Republican and Democrat, are geared towards the super rich, right? Like, and I'm not a socialist whatsoever, but you look at Obamacare. What did Obamacare do, right? It was built to ensure that the American people had access to healthcare, which it kind of did, but it increased prices for everyone and made an entire nation turn into a market that was that had the compulsory requirement to get healthcare from a health insurance company, thereby making the health insurance companies richer, right? So at the end of the day, it benefited the health insurance companies more than it benefited the people. So Democrats and Republicans are both like, there is no positive. I mean, there are limited positives to either side.
Yeah, but here's how I look at it, and I could be wrong, but I look at the Democratic Party right now is all about giving money away. And They look at taxing the rich, taxing whatever, taxing everybody and giving the money away, but they don't focus on the veterans as much as they focus on other people. And I'm not going to get into a different route. And the reason I'm bringing this up is veterans were kicked out of hotels so that homeless immigrants could get put in there instead of the homeless veterans. There's a lot of stuff that and I understand why we get to a point where we can't afford certain things, certain benefits, certain things because we're in the trillions of dollars in debt and everything has to be cut. I'm a business owner. I understand when I have to cut, it hurts. And that's how I look at it differently. And with what the cuts they're doing, and I'm not perfect. I'm not in the room of what's going on at all the time. And because we're not there, but I just focus on, hey, I want less government out of my business. Let me do what I need to do to make money and leave me alone. That's what I want. So whatever that is, whatever government that is, that's what I want. And the problem is I don't see that where I'm at.
I mean, I'm born and raised in California, right? And I have no desire ever to live in that state again, because of the fact that the single party that runs that state has run it into the ground, right? Like, and
that party is Democrat, by the way, just so you know.
Right.
And I'm not saying Republican could have been better, but it's less social programs.
I'll also add that California is a donor state to the greater federal process, right? And so California is one of those states that helps to insert and inject money into states like West Virginia, which are predominantly Republican but are struggling economically. So the problems are writ large across the board. And going back to, again, the question of why would I switch? Well, I switched because the Democrat Party aligns with my values the most. I would prefer to go it alone, but I can't go it alone because of the fact that the two-party system has such a stranglehold on the entire election process that going it alone is going to cost me infinitely more money, more time, and more blood, sweat, and tears than someone who is running on a specific party ticket. So I chose the lesser of two demons to align myself with, just because their values kind of align with my values.
And I could see that, but I don't think and this is just my take on it, I don't think that the current Democratic Party benefits most of the people, because there's people who say this is what the Democratic Party is, but that's not who currently the Democratic Party is. And I understand what you're saying about authoritarian, the whole thing. I don't care to like my president. I don't care about his personality. I don't care. I only care about what he does. Yes, I understand that they're taking some things away from benefits from veterans, but I also see that we have such it's across the board what they're taking it away. But I could be wrong too. I've been wrong before, once or twice. But yeah. So I was just curious why you went that way. So. I mean, because we have all parties, but you're right. But I would in California, if you want to get into politics, you have to be a Democrat, and we have had a lot of Democrats switch over to Republican this last year.
Yeah, that's the only way to get into the political theater that is California politics.
Yeah, you go in as a Democrat and then you change parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only, and I told so many veterans who are running, I'm like, you need to go as a Democrat once you're in, then you switch over to Republican if that's what you are. You don't tell them any other way. So, and the problem is, it's really, from what I've interviewed people and I talked to so many people, 99% of us are in the middle. They're just a 0.5% to 1% on each side that's so loud that we think it's that way. So that's why I think both parties don't really work anymore. But I see the Republican Party getting bigger and bigger and staying in power a lot longer than what people think.
We'll see what happens in 26.
I'm not worried about 26. That's in 26. Halfway through, usually they lose the House. That's normal. And the problem is because in the first 2 years, you can't get anything finished to make people think it's better. It's not until that fourth year. But then, I mean, that's how it is. So. And I'm in the real estate and the mortgage market, and when I will follow finances, we find the market itself prefers stalemate where people can't do anything. They prefer to have one of those Democrat while the other ones are Republican and vice versa. That way we don't have to worry about them putting in dumbass bills, excuse my language, that we don't have to worry about. And that's how the market likes it. They like stagnation.
Yeah, I mean, I like stagnation at the federal level too, just to stop, like you said, the dumbass bills like Obamacare from getting shoved through without actually being read. So,
and that was put through by who?
That was the Democrats.
Yeah, but I remember that who pushed that through was the left leaning so much Democrats are like, just do this. And the problem I have with all of it, I think everything should have term limits. I got to go in 5 minutes. Everything has term limits. If you do term limits, we don't have the problems we have now. That's what we need. If we did term limits, we wouldn't have people in the office there for 44 years, making millions and millions of dollars. They go in, negative 75,000, and within 4 years they're worth 20 million. How does that work on a 200,000 or $100 and some $1,000 salary?
Well, it doesn't. And to term limits, I'm opposed to those. Of course I am. I'm opposed to those, and I know you got to leave, but I'm opposed to those because of the fact that it is the voters' responsibility to keep track of that stuff. And I think that's where we are failing as voters, which again is why I'm pushing Crayon politics to be that one-stop shop. So voters have somewhere to go to get the information rather than have to spend 15, 16 hours trying to figure out what website they need to go to and how to navigate that site to get the information they're looking for.
The reason I want term limits is the fact that you'd be there for 8 years or 4 years. You'd go in, serve your country, come back to your local community like it was set up to do in the beginning, and grow your local community from where you left. You're not going to go there for 40-year career and not come back to the community and work in the community you're supposed to. And then also the lobbyists go away, because if they can't keep you in power past their term limit, they're not going to give you as much money. It's going to uncorrupt the system. That's why I think term limits are so important. That's just how I look at it. But people will go, well, I can't get everything done in 4 years or 8 years. Well, work faster. Well, that's the other thing is the reason they do that is, they're only there for so long. I want to get reelected. Well, if you can't get reelected, you'll do whatever you need to do and not care about getting reelected.
Right.
That's the difference. But
yeah,
Carl, it was great having you on the show. I'm going to hit you up afterwards to get you helping me with the November bill. I appreciate you helping on that, and I appreciate you coming on the show today and telling us your story. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
How do people find you?
Cranboxpolitics.com is the main point, but you can find us on Facebook, like all the socials, and then the podcast is on every single podcasting platform that you can think of. So,
and how long have you been doing the podcast?
This is season 3 now.
Wow.
So 3 years.
All right. Well, I'll have to check it out. Again, Carl, thank you so much for being on the show today.
All right. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.